Yeah, you know what time it is. Come brawl with them boys of the fall. Covered in gray and scarlet, massive, stiff arms to your jaw. We breaking it. We sick of seeing you clowns with the crown. We taking it. Number one flaws, you don't know ball. We taking advantage of that. Got you Karens asking where the manager at. With no cap, no time for the amateur rap. Look, man, we got dogs all over the depth chart. Monsters on the roster. Straighten up that posture. Rooting out you imposters. Silver bullets in the chamber. And a D-line full of danger. Step back with that linebacker trigger, when he pull it, it'll bang ya. Running backs running downhill. Touchdown on your IG reel. Better check the stats, buddy, it's straight facts over how you feel. Whenever I speak, I'm giving you more balls than German Village or North and High Street. And you know, the average Joe can do nothing with my flow. It's a waste. Somebody please give this brother an I.O. Come on.
I told y'all before, I need to feel y'all's energy. Stop sitting on y'all hands and get this place lit. Like I said, bring the energy.
Yeah, you know what time it is. I'm brawl with them boys of the fall. You know what time it is. On the ground with a nose for the ball. You know what time it is. Us sweating them tears for this game. Leaving it all out on the field with no fear for you lame. You know what time it is. Come brawl with them boys of the fall. You know what time it is. On the ground with a nose for the ball. You know what time it is. Blood sweating them tears for this game. Leaving it all out on the field with no fear for you lame. It's Buckeyes by a billion. We in the building with over 100,000. We represent from the...
What's good, everybody? What's up, man? I see y'all in the chat looking at what me and Funky looking at right now, which is up. UCLA just hit a 3. Watching Ohio State basketball, man, at UCLA, about to take this L, unfortunately. But thank y'all for hopping on, man, and joining us today. We definitely want to talk about some upcoming spring emerging stars we're hearing about, and also just some thoughts on guys that we think should make an impact this season. But Funky, man, you out there on the left coast, man. How you doing, brother?
I'm feeling like a national champion, B. Moses. We just passed over the 1 month mark a few days ago from the national championship. And man, I mean, for some reason, it feels better and better as it goes on. I thought maybe, because like when it happened, it felt so surreal. And I thought, oh, maybe in a month, it just like won't feel as good. But it's a month later, and I'm like, wow, like this feels good. Like we have complete bragging rights over everybody. It's gonna be like I'm trying to get back in the horseshoe for the week 1 for where they release the banner or whatever they do. I've never been to a national title thing at Ohio State before. I mean, this is only the second one in my lifetime. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to do everything I can to get in the building that day. But man, all eyes forward onto next season and trying to do everything I can to not watch college basketball right now. So.
Yeah, man, that's a whole nother, pod and topic. You know what I'm saying? And I was looking forward to hopefully doing more Buckeye basketball related podcasts, like with it actually being the title, like the front, making a tournament and stuff like that. But not looking good, man. But to your point, brother, about Buckeye football, yes, I'm still glowing. I just got this tee in the mail this past weekend, rocking it proudly. I got me another joint coming. It's scarlet like this, but it has 9 Buckeye leaves going down the champions and whatnot, man. So I'm definitely still celebrating. I mean, the off season, thinking about spring ball, Ryan Day on all the podcasts, it's still layers of celebration. You know what I'm saying? And it's not going to stop, like you said. Like as we get closer to the season, there'll be still talks of, defending national champion. And yes, I'm definitely trying to go to that Texas game in the shoe. For one, it's just going to be a dope game. Should be great weather. And I'm hoping Fox doesn't get it, so it's a night game. And then, yeah, I've never seen, I've been alive for 3 national championships. I've never been to an unveiling of the 2024 national champions in the shoe. That would be incredible. So I'm going to try my best to get there. I know it's going to be a hot ticket. But, yeah, man, I mean, the offseason, it's a little different. No games to break down, nothing like that. But it's always something going on, man, in the offseason. And them guys are in the facility working right now. I'm sure some of y'all saw the pictures of them hitting the weights, doing drills. James Peoples looking extra rocked up and physical and fast. So I'm definitely excited about the spring, man. Are you getting up here for anytime soon, I guess, for spring ball, the spring showcase or anything like that, Funk?
Man, I wish I could do that, but with track season starting up, we have our first race next Saturday.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a cough real quick because my bad.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's a wrap, man. With your track spring is like a no. I shouldn't even ask that question.
Yeah, so I mean, I wish, but I mean, probably will be in the Midwest a little bit, and I mean, I'm definitely gonna make my rounds in Columbus come the fall time, and I mean, you know, I told BMOS off the stream, I wanted to go to that UCLA game badly, but just it was a 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. game here in the West Coast, 2-hour drive, and I was like, it just wouldn't really make that much sense. I wouldn't be able to make the podcast. I was hoping it'd be a 7 p.m. start time West Coast, so I could, right after this podcast, head up. So that's probably why we lost, because Funky Buck wasn't in appearance. Because I mean, I'm 2-0 in Ohio State men's basketball games, and what was it, Arizona in that Sweet 16 a while ago, or was it round of 32, something like that? I was really young. I was in what?
I think it was
second
to go
grade.
to the Sweet 16, I believe.
Oh yeah, it was in the round of 32 versus Arizona, and one more game. But I'm 2-0, so I'm. Oh, dang! I wish we had a good basketball team, because there's a 25% chance they play their games on the West Coast, and I would make an appearance of that no matter what. So
yeah, no, I feel you. Nah, but you're right. I mean, you the track guy, man. And so, I mean, have you ever told the audience what meets you do? Like, have you ever expressed that? I'm sure people are curious.
I run long.
I'm
sorry, yeah, I run long distance track and cross country in the collegiate level. So it's. Yeah, I mean, it's just cool because you kind of get to experience how to be an athlete, and you're hanging around a bunch of different athletes. So I can kind of relate to these Buckeye football players a little bit, but not really. I mean, they're living a completely different lifestyle. But I mean, man, it's always a good day, because how cold is it right now in Columbus?
There's still snow on the ground.
Snow on the ground.
Right now it is 38, which is a warm front compared to what we were last week. It was like in the single digits, bro. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I took a long beach walk this morning in the bright sun, so it was very, very, very nice. And I got home, showered real quick, and I'm ready for the podcast. So, but I mean, it's great. Not to be a so cowboy, but man, it's fun out here for sure. And I wish that's why I was kind of happy about the Big Ten expanding, because I get to go to more games now. Yeah. I don't think we play at UCLA or USC for not next year. I think we might play in 2 years, and that'll be fun, because it's always cool when I get to watch Ohio State play and not have to travel across the country, even though I will do that. But that's the cool thing about this conference expansion, and it's just going to get even more fun with a bunch of all this expansion stuff and the playoff games, the expanded playoffs, and the eventually they're probably going to expand the regular season, so it's going to be a whole new thing.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, look, I know football athletes, to me, are the best athletes in the world, and NBA, NFL players, whatever. But I'm not going to downplay your training, though. Like, distance runners, I've at least seen the training y'all do. I know there's some guys on the football team that can't last as long as you can running. They might be faster, but that distance, just from the outside looking in, ain't no joke. So respect, for doing that at the collegiate level, bro.
Running like 12 miles a day, B Moses. So that's about like a half marathon a day. So
it's crazy. I would die.
It is a lot. Yeah.
I would die right now. Like, so respect for that for sure. But speaking of athletes, we definitely wanted to talk about some of our young athletes. I know y'all see some on the thumbnail. I put Edric Houston, Mylan Graham, Julian Sayin, and my boy Caden McDonald on the cover for a reason. We're going to touch on them, talk about them and the expectations and all of that, man. And, just our thoughts on who's doing well right now, as far as performance behind the scenes with workouts and drills and just skill things. And then who we expect to show up, man, this next fall, who we need to show up and who we believe will. But Funk, I wanted to start out with you, man. Who's the first player that comes to your mind as far as a breakout type of player this upcoming season?
Well, it might seem obvious because I mean, to an extent, it is obvious, but I mean, it has to be Julian Sayin. I mean, he's quarterback one. He's going to be the star of the team next year, and he's been making. Because there were some questions about his leadership the last couple of weeks from a lot of people in the Woody, including, I mean, Kirk in Nevada. I've been hearing the same stuff, but from what I've been hearing from talking to the kids, Julian is taking big steps into really trying to make this team his. He really tried to learn from what Will Howard did, because Will Howard took over the team in 6 months. He went from not even being on the roster to being like captain. I mean, Captain Will. So it was Julian saying he has to be ready to go, and he's doing everything he possibly can to be ready to go. And that's going to be shown before the season even starts, when the Ohio State has zero interest in any quarterbacks in the portal. So, because if Ryan Day had any like bad wishes on Julian Sayin or didn't think he'd be great, then Ryan Day will be aggressively going into that portal, because Ryan Day knows he can't waste a year of JJ Smith. So it might seem obvious, but has to be said. Julian Sayin is like the first breakout star that is breaking out and will have a huge spring and even better fall. I mean, he grew up in San Diego. I mean, he went to Calabasas High School, which is literally like hours away from me right now. So I've been watching Julian play for a while now. When I'm forgetting, did he win the set or
yeah, he won the Elite 11.
He won the Elite 11 because they do the Elite 11 at Redondo High School, or they switch between Redondo High School and Maricosta High School. And I'll just say one of those high schools are very familiar with me, and the other high school is the neighboring high school. So I go to the Elite 11 every year, and everyone there, it was very, very obvious who the best quarterback was, and it was Julian Sayin. So people are always going to have their questions about Ohio State quarterbacks, because people just love hating on Ohio State, and unless they're the obvious, like Justin Fields, where they're going to be like the Heisman winner, if not this like second runner up or whatever, CJ Stroud, the second pick in the draft, then people are going to crap on him, and people still crapped on CJ Stroud. So I'm not shocked that people are hating on Julian Sayin already, but I mean, once again, Ryan Day is going to prove everybody wrong and have a very, very elite offense led by Julian Sayin.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, I will admit to you, I'm going to be rational and reasonable regardless. But I still want to see, I'm looking forward to seeing what Julian Sayin is going to do, because based off what I saw in the field so far, I wasn't like, yo, he about to be a dog. I didn't see that. He looks slight. He skipped a few balls in the dirt, which doesn't give you a warm, rosy feeling just off of that snapshot. However, I refuse to ignore everything you just said. He won the Elite 11. Those guys usually do pretty well. Like you said, South Florida Express loved him. They could have picked any quarterback. Ryan Day has not jettisoned him yet. You know what I'm saying? Like Nick Saban picked him up.
Yep.
I can't ignore that. So even though my eyeballs have not seen like, oh wow, I'm super duper, like, he's about to be a dog, doesn't mean that he's not, because there's all those factors I just mentioned to kind of, bounce off of. So I am excited to see him emerge, because again, his credentials, his resume, the people signing off on him, I respect, obviously. So I think we're going to first and foremost cater the offense around him to his skill set. Everybody knows his number one skill set is his release. Like, if you go watch him throw the ball, his release is lightning quick. Matter of fact, as I continue, I'm just going to ask you quickly, Funk, can you think of another quarterback off the top of the head at Ohio State with a quicker release than Julian Sayin? Off the top of the head.
Oh, 100% not. I was thinking of people like all time with a quick release. I mean, Julian Sayin, he always reminded me of Aaron Rodgers. Like that's always like for even Aaron Rodgers is slightly taller and a little bigger of a frame. It's just slightly bigger. You know, Julian Sayin, just his baby face makes him look small. Like
Yeah.
he almost like I always make this joke where like some people like they just give like small people like vibes or like stuff. Like Julian Sayin, like
Yeah.
when you look at him and you like seem like his presence, he like seems smaller than he actually is. But in reality, I mean, he's like a 6'1", so like
Something like that, yeah.
the kid's plenty big. And yeah, but definitely not at Ohio State. I mean, in my lifetime, we haven't had the best, you know, pocket passers, but definitely not anyone with as quick a release as Julian Sayin. So I mean, CJ is I mean clearly the best passer I've ever seen, and Justin
Right.
Fields is probably. I mean, I would argue Justin Fields is probably the best quarterback in Ohio State history. But that'd be my pick. Maybe that's just because I wasn't alive for, or really wasn't present for a lot of these other good guys. But they're all different. I think Julian is more mobile than CJ, but a better passer than Justin. So I think it'll be interesting. But his release is something uncanny, and with an offense led by Ryan Day, I mean at the end of the day, it is led by Ryan Day. With JJ Smith on it, I mean, I'd be shocked if it's doesn't like be the best offense in college football, because the offensive line is gonna be good. I mean, it's gonna be good. There's no question about that, in my opinion.
Nah, for sure. I agree. And yeah, I mean, obviously you mentioned CJ Stroud. He was a dog overall, best passer I can remember. I mean, but just we're speaking strictly release now, y'all. Just go watch any tape of Sayin throwing the ball. It's the release we're talking about. But yeah, and as far as his leadership, I mean, me personally, you know, when I played sports in anything, mainly basketball and football, I was always a vocal leader on the court, on the field. I was the one talking, getting people lined up. You know, I'm a very vocal guy. However, to me, production trumps even that. I prefer that, especially for quarterback. I think that should be an ideal trait. However, production and command more so than being the one who speaks up, the Tim Tebow. Give me production over that, but I would prefer that. You know what I'm saying? But with that said, Sayin is young, and I think him seeing Will Howard front and center, and then him just growing naturally, and Ryan Day and even Hartline, you know, just pushing him out there, because I believe with his confidence will come the confidence to speak up and command vocally, which is what's needed at that position. But yes, he's a little, withdrawn, not too talky and stuff like that. Looks slight. And I think a part of the reason he looks slight is because, think about this. We've had 6'4", 240. We've had 6'3", 230. I mean, like, all our quarterbacks recently have been big. I mean, CJ Stroud is not a little dude. Justin Fields is not a little dude. So when you see Sayin, he's small in comparison. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what we do to cater our offense around Sayin and to see his growth, because clearly he has the credentials leading up to this. Now he just needs to go out there and put it on the field, right?
I mean, it's going to be hard for him to fail. I mean, we talk about, there's a big talking point in like the NFL and even college football, like, of being like a system quarterback. And there's a lot of like validity to that. When a team has a bunch of great wide receivers, it's pretty easy to look good. When you have great play calling, it's pretty easy to look good. All you have to be is like competent. And when you have JJ Smith, Carnell Tate, who are, in my opinion, the best and second best wide receivers, best and third best college wide receivers. I think Ryan Williams is the second best, but there's no better wide receiver than Carnell Tate, not named JJ Smith or Ryan Williams. And I don't think that shouldn't be debatable. And then Brandon Inniss is clearly, I mean, he'd be the number one wide receiver in probably every single other team in the country. Like, I'm going to be serious. Like, I mean, again, probably besides Alabama. I mean, Brandon Inniss has a real argument to be like, if he was let's just say this, if Brandon Inniss played for a team like Tennessee or Oregon or whatever, then he'd be like the consensus top 5 wide receiver in college football. But just because he had to take a smaller role at Ohio State, that's why people aren't going to respect him and put him as like whatever, even a top 20 wide receiver. But in reality, he'll probably end up being a first, second round pick in the NFL draft. And so, I mean, just an overload of talent. And then plus you
Yeah.
have Max Clare, who literally, I'm telling you, is literally
Ooh.
Sam Laporta. It's Sam Laporta. And then the offensive line, you're returning three guys in the middle. You're returning a fourth guy in the middle who could be a backup. Then you got a big tackle from Rice who's gonna be good. I mean, he's an NFL player for sure. And then we'll find a tackle. I mean, we have guys. We have or Ian Moore or Jay. I think Ian Moore gets the job at gun to head, or Jaden Phillips. Sorry, I'm little blinking on names
Yeah,
now
from
right now.
Minnesota. Yeah.
But it just for me, it's just hard to think of a scenario where Julian Sayin doesn't do good, even if he's not some super freak first round pick lock player. Like just at the end of the day, our offense is going to be a juggernaut next year as long as Julian Sayin is very competent. So, like, and I'm not saying this in bad will. Like, I don't have confidence in Julian. I'm just saying, like, there's so much more things for me to have confidence about in our offense, not just Julian, but a lot of stuff that are also going to help him out to succeed.
Yeah, I agree. He's definitely going to have what it takes around him. And listen, we can kind of shift gears. You mentioned a guy, Brandon Inniss, man. I want to talk about him a little bit because, listen, I don't think he gets enough fanfare going into next year. You know who he reminds me of? And y'all tell me in the chat. Y'all tell me if y'all agree with this. He gives me KJ Hill vibes. I think he's going to be a killer underneath. He's going to be a chain mover. Obviously, he's physical. He'll knock somebody's head off, just blocking. I mean, I really, really like Brandon Inniss, and he's a vocal guy as well. But I don't think you're going to see him, 9 routing nobody up like that. Maybe sometimes if they're over aggressive and overplay him, but I think he's going to be very KJ Hillish, eating up the underneath stuff, finding holes in the zone, moving chains, getting end arounds and stuff like that, just because he's a good physical runner and just smart. I mean, he's already shown in these games early this season that he could be relied upon. I mean, he scored in a big game at Penn State. He did some things down the stretch, in the playoffs, like little things that people really didn't account for. He caught some balls, but but yeah, I think Brandon Inniss is going to be really, really good. And I know there's some buzz about Mylan Graham, and we were going to talk about him, and we can kind of segue into that. But I think Mylan Graham is funny, man, because I think both are slept on in different ways. Inniss is slept on for the reasons I just mentioned. But Mylan, I think, was overshadowed, obviously, by J.J. Smith and Brandon Inniss and Carnell Tate. But Mylan Graham, lots of buzz coming out the whack about Graham and that speed, man. Tell me a little bit about what you've been hearing, Funk, about Mylan Graham. We can dive into him. And if you got comments about Inniss, by all means, fire away.
I'm going to start with Inniss. The player that Inniss really, really, really reminds me of is Amon Ross St. Brown.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's who he reminds me of. Someone who's not like super physical, contested catcher, someone who's not like awesome at creating separation, but he's fast enough and he can make contested catches enough where he gets just enough to get, where I can see him being very, very elite. I mean, especially in the slot and just in general, like that's just where I really feel like he's going to see a lot of success. And for Mylan, I mean, he's been slept on. He's just straight up a hard worker. That's what he is. He's been a quieter kid, and his goal is to make it to NFL. That's his goal. And he's willing to trust the process, which is, I mean, great to see. But it's hard to always, I mean, I wouldn't blame a kid like Brandon or Mylan transferring. Like, I just wouldn't, because they are both good enough to be wide receiver ones at just about any school ever, but they're both choosing not to and really trusting Brian and Ryan to get them in the NFL. So, I mean, when you have this much of an embarrassment of riches on your team, it's almost insane to even talk about, because Mylan, I mean, he's a stud. I mean, they've been talking about his 9 routes in practice, even freshman year, and we saw a little bit of it in some reps during the games. He got in there a few times, but it just hard. I just don't know how much of a role he's really going to have next year, though. That's my worry, because he is
Who, Graham?
Mylan Graham. That's just
Okay.
my one worry is just because who's he gonna play over? He's not gonna play over JJ. He's not gonna play over Cornell. He's not gonna play over Brandon. Uh, he's probably not gonna play over Bryson Rogers. I mean, Bryson Rogers is a legit NFL player. Like, I mean, he's a legit NFL player. I mean, in my opinion, he probably is a 5th, 6th round pick in the NFL. So is Brian really going to play Mylan over him? Maybe, but I mean, they both have to see the field, and man, Jason Smith just said Hartland plays 3 wide receivers. So I mean, yeah, he plays 3 wide receivers, and then like occasionally a 4th one. Like we saw Brandon get very limited playing time last year, and they want to put him at punt returner and stuff. But I don't know, just I almost hate talking about Mylan Graham because a part of me feels like we might not see his full potential at Ohio State, you know? But I mean, he's a star though, like no doubt about it.
Yeah. Nah, for sure. And I'm laughing at Ken Taco Hut talking about the ways, but no, that is a fair statement, Funk. So to me, honestly, because what sets Mylan Graham apart from what every receiver, would y'all say it's fair? Funky, chat, everybody. Would you say that it's fair to say Mylan Graham, the one thing he can step back and say is that his speed separates him? Now, obviously, JJ Smith is not slow. I'm not saying our receivers are slower. JJ Smith is fast, but Mylan Graham, from what I heard, is a tick faster. Like he's just faster, the fastest receiver in the room. So, Funk, to your point, he has to fight through that depth chart, and he'll have to, in my opinion, lean into his what's separating him from the other skill sets. And so, can he get in there and say, you know what? Because of the attention JJ Smith's going to get and Carnell Tate's going to get, and even Inniss, let's say that you got, we go 4 wides. You put Mylan Graham in there to run a 9 route against their 4th best DB. He has to eat in those situations, right? Like he has to take advantage of his skill set, of his speed, period. To me, in my opinion, if I was him, I would watch film of Devin Smith. I would say, listen, I'm going to be your Devin Smith right now, the 9 route specialist to get me in the game, to make defenses pay if they focus too much on JJ and Carnell, or to at least make defenses respect it, whatever. But his speed is what's going to get him on the field if he does get on the field. Now, on the schedule, we got Texas, obviously. I don't expect him to play unless he just completely blows up in the spring and the fall. And it's just like, yo, this kid got to play. Then that's one thing. But after that, we got Grambling in Ohio. And then we're at Washington. So those 2 games, you feel me? Like those are the games where he'll have an opportunity to step in and flash his ability to demand that he gets in that rotation. And fight for reps with old boy number 13. I forgot his name that quick. The one you just mentioned.
Bryson Rogers?
Bryson Rogers, yeah. Because to me, I think Bryson Rogers can be a really good poor man's Brian Robisky or something like that, but he doesn't have the ceiling of a Mylan Graham. So if Graham is focused enough and it gets in there, flashes his speed and makes plays, shows that he can actually execute and understand the plays and know what he's doing, I think he has a chance by the end of the season to, get in there and be a threat for the playoff run and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So good problem to have.
No, it is a good problem to have, but like you mean you don't have to look too far back in Ohio State's history to see a wide receiver that reminds me so much of Mylan Graham. It's almost scary. And it's not the one that Helping Technician said. It's a one that was a top 13 pick in the NFL draft, who's an NFL. I mean, he's had a 1,000+ yard receiving season this year. He played at Ohio State. He should have won a national championship. And his name is Jamison Williams. And he couldn't even see the field at Ohio State. Like, I mean, that's the reality. Like, he couldn't even see the field at Ohio State. So it's just like, I have no doubt Mylan Graham is going to be good. It's just I have worries that it's not going to be at Ohio State. I mean, that's a good problem to have because it's not like we are really missing Jamison Williams. Like we weren't. I mean, we had Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka and all these studs. So like I mean, that's my worry. But you're totally right. He offers a different skill set because of his elite speed. I mean, he's faster than, our whole entire roster. So, and it's not close. So it's it'll just be an interesting development, and I'm hoping to see what his 40 time is because we'll have that exact number when he does it. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing, Mylan Graham, if you're out there listening, buddy, I'm sure you are. Blocking. Blocking, blocking, blocking. If you can get out there and show not just your speed, but you can line up and pave the way for James Peoples and Donaldson to break off 40-yard touchdown runs, then obviously that's going to get you in the field even more. So, we'll see. Again, good problem to have. But I will say this past season, even the argument that kept Carnell Tate from transferring of how even with, we don't play like six receivers deep, but our top three receivers still did pretty well. I mean, Carnell Tate had a really good year. You know what I'm saying? Behind JJ freaking Smith and Ibuka. So, you can see that kids can eat. And if you're patient, number one, patient, and do what you need to do. And then also number two, Brian Hartline, especially, and you brought this out last week, Funk, he's the O coordinator now. So eating is going to be more likely for the receivers because he's calling the plays. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see that. And honestly, somebody mentioned in the chat, we can kind of pivot a little bit, Peoples and Donaldson. I need to go and watch a little more. I've saw some highlights and clips of Donaldson. Obviously, he's a big bruising, short yardage back. On red zone, pound him to get into the end zone. But I want to see a little bit more of him to see how versatile he is, to see what else he offers beyond just that. I know some people threw out Carlos Hyde and stuff like that, but I don't know. Have you seen much of Donaldson, Funk?
To be dead serious with you, no, not really. Like I watched his highlights a few times, and I know what he is as a running back. But in reality, like we're gonna be so pass heavy this year. In our run game is gonna be it's gonna be a different type of run game because it's gonna be. How do I even explain this? Or like our run game. I really truly think our run game is just gonna be kind of like the short passing game almost. Our run game is more going to be jet sweeps and short passes and end arounds and and we really just want to have success running the ball within the goal line or within fourth and 1 and the thirds and twos. We want to be able to run the ball, but I don't think this year is going to be the year where we really are trying to have establish one of these great run games like we had this year, where we're able to beat teams by running the football and running the football with Will Howard, running the football with Quinshawn, and then running the football with Trayvon. I really think this year it's going to be Julian Sayin may break every single Ohio State football record this year. That's what I'm saying. I think we're gonna have a very, very strong pass attack and just really focus on keeping these running backs, one, healthy, and two, just running hard because they're both hard runners. That's the reality of it. I mean, CJ Donaldson, he's pretty much, he's literally a converted tight end to running back. So he's not some freak athlete at running back, and he has injury issues. So I think the main goal, especially for the first 12 games this season, is just to keep everybody healthy.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely got to keep him healthy. It's a long stretch. I think we did a pretty good job of, keeping Henderson. I think, and I was just talking to my fellas, man, in my little group chat about, why Henderson didn't get more carries throughout the year. Just because he was so explosive, and why not give him a little more carries? Because when you look at the carries, they're kind of even. And what I was saying is based off of what I was hearing the coaches say in interviews, and then also when they reflected on the season, they really wanted to keep Henderson fresh. Henderson had been injury prone every season leading up to this past season. We all know that. And they see how special he is when he's healthy. And so I think there was a concerted effort to keep Henderson ready and healthy and fresh down the stretch. And we all saw what happened. I mean, he looked like a bolt of lightning against Texas on that screen pass. I mean, people across the country who weren't Buckeye fans, you go look at reels and look at comments. I love how he gets so much love, but it didn't matter. Every fan base had to be like, yo, this kid is crazy. Y'all see how fast he looked? That was because we didn't, wear down his tire tread during the season. So to your point with James Peoples, and I think he had a really good freshman showing. He showed some really good ability at times. I think naturally his vision, which was solid, is going to get even better. His understanding of the offense will get even better. His feel for the game, because he's fast, y'all. He just needs to continue to settle in and be able to read the defense, read the holes a little better, and he's gone if he finds a crease. But yes, he's hands down the best back on the team. Now, I was going to ask you, Funk, I'm excited about Bo Jackson. I'm actually more encouraged about him because I thought he had like an ACL tear, but I looked it up and it wasn't. He didn't have to have surgery. He just banged his knee up, and that kid is nice too. So I don't know how much you know about Bo Jackson.
Oh no, I Bo Jackson's recruitment was a little bit of a fun one. I mean, any running back from Cleveland named Bo Jackson, that's going to get my attention. And it's funny because we have another guy in class for Anthony, or what's his name, Turbo. Sorry, I'm forgetting a little bit right now, but I mean, Bo Jackson's, from what I've heard, is actually faster than the guy nicknamed Turbo, which I find a little comical. But I mean, freshman running back can play. That's the thing. I mean, just we haven't seen him yet. Like he hasn't. I'm not fully sold on him this year, but I mean, but in 2 years we'll be totally. I mean, our running back room next year is going to be, extremely elite with Peoples and Turbo and Bo Jackson. I mean, those are three very, very good running backs for us. I don't see a freshman really making too much of an impact this year for Ohio State, but I mean, I could really see Mylan Graham stepping up into kind of that like gadget receiver, like kind of like you said, like how by the end of the year Trayvon was so fresh and he was just faster than everyone else. I feel like that's very realistic what we can see with Mylan Graham this year, where all these other guys, these DBs are tired, these linebackers are tired, these other wide receivers are tired, but Mylan, because of maybe his lack of playing time, his lack of catches, like Trayvon was getting, only like 7 or 8 carries a game some games. So right. I think it ended up being a perfect thing. So maybe early on, Mylan doesn't get all these reps and stuff, but by the time the season starts, and there's 2 different playbooks. They talked about it a little bit. There's the regular season playbook, and then there's the playoff playbook, because you have to save a lot of stuff for the playoffs, because, it's one game, then another game, then another game, then another game, all versus an elite teams. So I just have a picture in my head of Mylan Graham like catching a very short route or some sort of screen pass, or maybe coming out of the backfield for a screen or something, and just going to the house, or maybe that's on the punt return, or maybe that's on the kick return, because that's where I think he'll be our punt returner this year, Mylan. So because they need to get him the ball. You're totally right. He's the fastest guy on the offense, so we need to find a way to get this kid the ball, and it might just be from the backfield, And I could really see, because I've heard those rumblings a little bit, nothing too serious yet, but I think it'd be a very smart decision for Ohio State to put their most you see it all the time in the NFL. Deebo Samuel is a very good running back. You see all these they do. It happens all the time. They put their elite wide receiver in the back. Justin Jefferson lines up in the backfield. Jamar Chase lines up in the backfield. Happens literally all the time. So I totally wouldn't be shocked if we see that happen, to get more wide receivers involved to kind of help out these running backs, since they are good. And we still have our top 10 running back room in the whole entire college football. But when you have all these, when our backup wide receivers are probably the best wide receiver room in the country, then they have to see the field, So
yeah, we got, again, more games potentially, and also just a side note, and I want to talk about a couple of defenders, and then we can kind of end with the spring game question, and I want to know how people feel about things changing with the spring game. But I was going to briefly say Tyler Bowen, the new hire, the new offensive line coach. He's also the run game coordinator. And I want to see what he does, because to me that matters. If you bring a guy in who specializes in that, who obviously Day trusts to do that, I want to see how the run game just improves from that standpoint. Obviously, you said the line's going to be better. I agree. It's funny how the season, you would have thought it was just the worst thing ever. And at points, it felt like it, I guess, in moments. But we ended gloriously with the depth showing themselves. And so if the line can play better and cleaner and have more of a grip schematically, because to me, again, some of the issues we had with the line was the back and forth of the zone blocking and not really executing that well, and doing better with the counter and gap stuff and trying to find yourself. If we can go into the season cleaner with a better understanding of how to execute whatever scheme we decide to run, I think that can matter a lot to our running backs, because obviously they need holes to to run through. So that's something to think about as well. But couple of defenders I wanted to talk about that I'm excited about. I've already sung his praises on here before. I'm going to sing them again. Caden freaking McDonald. Caden McDonald. I know he was not a starter, but if y'all go back and watch tape, he was in there more than some of y'all think, number one. And two, he was in there on them goal line stands. Go look at him. Even the Penn State game at Penn State, that was him. He was like the main person in there that was stuffing it. So I know we have some depth issues. We lost a ton in that room, and we may need to go to the portal and grab some guys. But Caden McDonald coming back as a starter to me is just a wonderful, beautiful thing, because to me, bringing him in from Georgia, and, you know, Georgia didn't offer him for some reason, to me was one of the biggest gets that we could have gotten in a while, man.
I mean, Caden McDonald is a certified superstar. I mean, the only worry that people have about him is his motor.
Right.
So, and clearly when he's out there for the limited time he was last year, I mean, he was a star. I mean, he was, probably the best run stopper we had on the whole entire defense last year, at least in the interior. And that's saying something, because we had 2 NFL guys in there.
Right.
So, I'm not as worried about I think our defensive tackles. I can't name you a better college off the top of my head who has better defensive tackles than Ohio State does this year. Because Edric Houston is a legit star. I mean, he's a legit. He's better than. Sorry, he's better. Sorry, not to jump the gun, but he's the best defensive tackle I've seen at Ohio State since. Man, do you have a name?
Who I would compare Edric Houston to?
No, who do you like? Who's better? I can name some defensive ends who I think were better than that could end up being better than Edric Houston. But if I was picked Edric Houston compared to Tyleik Williams going it for their career, I mean, give me Edric Houston
coming
for sure.
in. I see.
Yeah. I mean, as a true sophomore, clearly when he's not better than our 5th year or our 4th year, 5th year Tyleik Williams was.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but as a true sophomore, I don't know if I've seen a better defensive tackle project at Ohio State. In very few defensive ends or other defensive linemen. I mean, clearly, you see that you have the Nick Bosa's and the Joey Bosa's and the Chase Youngs. But as a pure defensive tackle prospect, I've not seen someone better than Edric Houston at Ohio State. Someone have to remind me. I'd be blanking out on a name right now. But
he's a 5-star guy. I mean, everybody wanted him. You know, as far as the expectations, highly ranked. You know where he's at this point. Yeah, just to be clear, nobody get what he's saying wrong. He's not saying he's better than Tyleik Williams right now. He's just saying coming in at this point, because even Tyleik Williams, he had issues early on with his motor and his conditioning. He even said that in interviews that's what held him back from really blossoming earlier. Edric Houston doesn't have that issue at this point. Now, that doesn't mean he'll be better than Tyleik Williams, but the trajectory at this point seems to be a higher ceiling. So, but yes, with Edric Houston, good segue. That kid, as you know, those who follow recruiting, and Gio did 42. Big Hank Jonathan Hankins, yeah, Big Hank was a load, man. I love Jonathan Hankins at D tackle. But what I was going to say is with Houston, y'all know he started off at DN. So to me, I think it was a brilliant progression for him to move to the 3 tech with his speed, size, power. He's going to be a heck of a matchup problem for that interior line for the opposing offenses. So I love it, man. I think it was a great move for him to move into the interior. I think he's going to be more of a menace there than the outside. I mean, in hindsight, looking at the move. So to your point, I mean, and again, that's another kid who played a lot last year, y'all. I mean, he didn't start, but he played in some meaningful moments. Like, do y'all even realize that? Like, Houston was in there at times and he popped. And so our starting 4 should be really, really good. Caden Curry, he was a werewolf at times, you know, causing turnovers, physical, good run stopper. Kenyatta Jackson, he flashed at times. He needs to be a little better against the run, but he's flashed at times being disruptive, batting down balls, getting in the backfield. But we just need to see what our next line, you know, coming in after that is going to do. And I do believe we're going to go get a guy in the portal. I know we got the transfer from the lower division who's really good at stopping the run, which was a great pickup. But I think we're going to pick up another guy in the portal for D-line.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, this is going to make me sound really, really young. I had to look up who Dan Wilkinson was.
Oh, yeah. Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson.
I was thinking, I was like, I don't remember that. Like, that must have been like, I was like, is that in my lifetime?
That was
like, did I miss something?
Lifetime.
No, I knew that. I looked at this saying his first NFL team was 1994. I'm like, okay, I wasn't even a thought then. So it was, but I mean, the biggest thing for me that confirms to me how good our defensive tackles are this year, it's the fact that Hero Canoe transferred, and he didn't just transfer to Akron or Toledo or Morehead State. He transferred to Texas, and he's going to start for Texas. So, I mean, Hero Canoe is a great player. I mean, he SoCal kid, grew up like again around my area, watched him play growing up, watched him play in high school. I mean, amazing. I mean, I raved about him a lot of times, and everything I said about him is 100% true and factual. He's a great player, and he would start on, I mean, a ton of Ohio State teams. I mean, pretty much every single one, in my opinion, besides for next year's, because you just have 2 guys on the team that are, I mean, certified stars in their own ways. I think Hero would have, I'm upset that he left because I still think he would have saw the field a lot next year. Because we don't just use 2 defensive tackles. You use what? 4?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at least if no one gets injured,
4 to
like
5 if you got it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. If you got it, 4 or 5. That also depends on like defensive ends too and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you use a ton of guys on your team. So, but hey, depth is an illusion. That's what Kirk's been saying for a while. It's an illusion because you have depth, then all of a sudden it goes away. Like with the spring portal coming up, I mean, it's I would just say I wouldn't be shocked if we lose, if some kids make some business decisions, because I mean they have to. I mean, it's their life. It's like it's hard for me to hate on them being like, oh, why are you leaving? It's like, oh wow, I'm not sure if you guys heard that. I was honking, but yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, it's their life, and they have to do what they do to see the field. You only have 4 years of college, so why would you spend a year riding on the bench when you can start at Texas? Like that doesn't. I mean, that's just illogical. That doesn't really make sense to me personally. So yeah, then that's going to happen. Kids are, hopefully not, but it's just, yeah. I mean, that's what sucks about the portal, because you lose guys like Hero, who are great players, who could be NFL players, but it's just not the right fit, you know?
Yeah. Shout out to Geo did 42. Thanks for the 2. My breakout star next season at wide receivers, Mylan Graham. I saw you sent this a while ago, but didn't want to get to the super chats early, or too early, I should say. But yeah, bro, he's got a lot of high expectations, man. As we discussed, real quick, do you think from the Duda man? Thanks for the $10, man. Appreciate you. Do you think Petty John gets any playing time as a freshman? I really like him and would love to see him get on the field. So, I think Petty John is going to see the field on special teams. I think he's going to be a starter on special teams. Big, physical, fast kid. I mean, he's a beast. To me, he doesn't get enough love. And then I think he will get in there in some blowouts, and he'll fight his way, through. But he has to deal with obviously Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, and Pierce. Laurinaitis has sung Pierce's praises. He loves Pierce. And so some would argue that's why your boy transferred, the linebacker. I forget his name. That just transferred, had the pick six in the game. Go ahead.
I'm totally forgetting his name too.
I don't know why I'm forgetting his name.
I'm not sure why.
Gabe Powers.
Oh my
just
God,
came to me. Yeah, Gabe Powers. But anyway, but those are the top three linebackers. So Pettyjohn is going to have to fight his way, past that. But again, you got Ohio, you got Grambling, you got, there's going to be some blowouts. He'll have to take advantage of those reps in those games to really flash and show. But again, down the stretch, keep fighting in practice, keep putting good film out there on practice. And, he may break through later on, but I think he'll have a problem early on getting significant playing time because of those top three linebackers.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. And sorry about that cough, by the way, guys. I tried to hold that one back in. But and CJ Hicks, I know he's trying to make a little bit of transition to defensive end, but he's still working with both rooms right now. Or right now he's mostly still working with the linebacker room. So there's my personal opinion, there's only one freshman this year that I think is gonna see a good amount of playing time, and that's Devin Sanchez. I think Devin Sanchez at worst is he's not Jermaine Matthews, but like that role of the defense. Like he comes in there occasionally and he's like the next man up. That's what I mean. He's the next man up on the defense, because clearly Jermaine is going to start, clearly Iggy's going to start, and then you got West and Aaron Scott, but
he's going to have to beat them out. He's going to beat West and Aaron Scott out, man.
I think Sanchez beats out one of them. That's just from it's hard for me to say though, because Scott is a very, very elite player. His recruitment was one of my favorites ever. So and then West is showing a lot of great development. Both Ohio kids, right? Yeah, no, both Ohio kids. Yeah. So it's but Sanchez is the truth. If Sanchez doesn't see the field, I'll be shocked. But I think he's the only freshman right now that. Yeah, wait, let me think. Yeah, unless Tavidian St. Clair shows up on campus and just proves to be like the greatest college quarterback of all time. Sorry, I'm gonna rant about this. It's kind of a little bit random, but the fact that Michigan fans think that this Underwood kid is going to show up and be like a Heisman winner, and be like a top 10 quarterback on their team. He's not going to, he's going to be worse than JJ McCarthy was, or JJ McCarthy as a junior is going to be way better than what Bryce Underwood is going to be next year. And JJ McCarthy threw for 120 yards in the biggest games of the season every single year in their 15 and cheating season. So it's their expectations are way too high for Bryce Underwood, because Tavidian St. Clair, in my opinion, is a very similar player to Bryce Underwood. Just the only reason why we're not talking about him is because freshman quarterbacks don't start at Ohio State. Or at least nowadays, they don't start Ohio State. Right. And if they do, we have some serious issues. But yeah, it doesn't mean I'm not high on Tavian. Tavian is going to be a superstar at Ohio State. But to get back to Devin, I think Devin beats. I just think Devin beats one of them out. I've just been hearing so many good stuff about it. Obviously, no one can confirm this because football hasn't even been played yet. But Devin's a straight dog, and he's the best defensive back prospect I've seen. And I've been really following defense, or really recruiting for 5 years now. Looking at every tape of every defensive back, and he's by far and away the best one I've seen. Sucks that another top one I saw was Neem Offords, but he'll have the Neem Offord ones at Oregon, and he won't. Neem Offord, I'll tell you right now, is not going to see the field at Oregon. So
Neem Offord ones,
whatever. But Sanchez is a star, and he's going to be. If any freshman is going to put legit time playing, it's going to be him. Riley Clear, he's really good too. He'll be definitely impact on the defense next year. But this year, I personally don't see it. But hey, football also hasn't been played yet. So
Yeah.
if he shows out and we will know because there'll be a buzz around it. And I clearly have the right to change my mind because you just don't really know how these kids are going to translate. For all I know, he shows up day one and he's a superstar and he plays, So we'll see. He's clearly a really great player though, and he will be a superstar at Ohio State. Just maybe not next year. He's a
Yeah.
true freshman. Like this is not hating. This is just speaking of the
Right.
reality of college football. Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, Sanchez is a dog. I'm hesitant looking at the chat and stuff. I mean, I think Aaron Scott and Bryce West, with a year in the system ahead of him and being really talented themselves, is going to be hard to just, oh, he's the third guy. And I know you're not saying that, Funk, but there are some people who think he's going to just come in and just hop over them. And I don't think it's going to be that easy. I think, in my opinion, I think it's going to be our 2 starting corners, then Aaron Scott, and I think Sanchez has a chance to beat out West, maybe. I like Aaron Scott's ranginess, his length, compared to Bryce West, although Bryce West is a little more physically built. But anyway, we're gonna see. That's the fun thing about these discussions is we got so much talent. You just don't know who's gonna to show up and push through. But with that said, I know we're kind of getting close to the end here, so I wanted to ask the chat and also just Funky, like everybody, like how do y'all feel about this push across the country to end spring games as we've known it? Now, the spring game has changed over the years already. You know what I'm saying? Like growing up, the spring game used to be an actual game, like a physical, no thudding. It was a real full out game. And it's kind of evolved little by little. Now, some reason people say they don't want to do it is because they don't want to give other schools an audition for some of their players to pluck them in the portal. You got that. But then Ryan Day, who just experienced a 16-game run in the longest season in college football history. I mean, he's emphasizing the fact that, hey, every game, that's a lot of games. And a spring game is another game. If you play it traditionally, that's just on their bodies. And so they didn't really go into details about what the spring showcase would be. But I'm asking y'all this because the spring game to me has a little bit of a special place because, it kind of gets the juices flowing a little bit of, who to look out for traditionally. And then taking your kids, that was the first exposure that my kids had to Buckeye football was the spring game. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, what are they going to do to keep that element, even though it's not going to be the same as it used to be on the field per se? One thing they did mention is taking a picture with the championship trophy this season and like more stuff for like fan interaction. And I just don't know what they're going to do as far as the field of play. But how do y'all feel about that, man? Like about the spring game being the showcase now? Do you care? Do you not care? Is it sentimentals? Like whatever? What's y'all's thoughts? And Funky, obviously starting out with you.
Yeah. I think I'm going to talk about this in a purely football context. In a purely football context, it makes sense. You got to start treating it like the NFL because there's an NFL style playoffs. It's an NFL NFL season's still longer, clearly, but it's a season that's comparable to the NFL. The timelines are sort of similar-ish. But there's 3 different types of kids, and you see a lot of guys playing this. It's kids that just played a lot of games and they're tired. They need a rest. Like those kids need NFL players take like a month off before they even like do anything. And I know college kids, they jump back in those 6 a.m. workouts quickly, but these kids that played a lot of football, that you need to give their bodies rest. Kids need rest. Trust me, as an athlete, like sometimes I get injured and like it's like the best thing that ever happens to me because sometimes all your body needs is just some rest and for you to be able to perform at your best, even if that is just 3 weeks of very little stuff. So for those kids, I think it makes sense. But then there's the kids that need to play, the kids that were on the team last year who didn't get much playing time and they need to play. So there needs to be something to benefit those kids. And then clearly there's need to be something to benefit the new kids, the new freshmen going on the campus that just got here. So it'll be interesting. I don't think it's a dumb decision in that sense. There's a reason why they're doing it. It's not a dumb decision. but from a fan perspective, I feel really bad for a lot of fans because I know it was a very big. I mean, it was a huge thing in Ohio State. I mean, we had 80,000 people go to it last spring, or maybe I'm overestimating that. But I mean, it was a ton of people, and we had a huge spring game podcast or a meetup. Sorry, spring game meetup, and from that sense, it just doesn't make me. Yeah, for that sense, it makes me sad. But I hope they do something else to make up for it, like
Yeah.
a big meet and greet or a spring showcase where they do drills or let these fans watch the practice, or where it's like that. But I don't buy it's for kids to get poached. Like, who's really watching this two-hand touch flag football game and are like, oh, I want that kid. Like, no, like these kids already know. Like, these agents talk. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't believe in like the poaching part of this, but I definitely believe it's because they're trying to. I mean, you don't see NFL teams doing a spring game, So I think it's going to be a little harder of a fall camp that they're going to do. So football reasons, it makes sense, but I hope that they do something to make up for it for the fans. Because you're right. I mean, it is amazing tradition of college sports, and
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but I hope they do something that's like for the fans. Like, even if they make all their freaking kids or all the football players just like sign autographs for 3 hours and just sit there and talk to fans for 3 hours, like make it a team thing, mandatory event. Like, I mean, that'd be cool. You could bring your family to take photos with whoever. If you want to wait for 3 hours to talk to JJ Smith, you can do that, or you can wait 10 minutes and talk to Isaiah West out of Pennsylvania. Like, I feel like that'd be kind of a cool little thing they can do and host it in the shoe too. But
Yeah, I was
yeah.
gonna say that's key. Like in the shoe is key, y'all.
Mhm.
Because again, that's one of the big things. Is let's just be honest. If I was gonna go to a game regardless, I was gonna, as a young pup, I was gonna save my money and I was gonna get into that stadium. The point I'm trying to make is that there's some families who can't afford to take all four of their kids to a regular season Big Ten game. I mean, prices are kind of high at times. So the spring game has served as a vehicle for people just to come in and experience the shoe, for $5 a head for your whole family. Like I said, my kids, that was the first. Now I took my kids to the spring game first because, as when they're younger, taking them to a game could be a headache if they got to go pee every 2 minutes and all the other stuff. You know what I mean? But the excitement of seeing Script, Ohio for the first time in the spring game, and just the sort of the vibe, a semi game day vibe. And I think as long as they can keep something that resembles that, I think it'll still be dope, because to me, I still enjoy going down there in the spring around Buckeye Nation, the fanfare, everybody together. You know what I'm saying? Family thing. As long as they keep that element, I'm cool with it. I don't need to see them play a real physical game, in the spring game. I just want them to keep the things that are important to the fan base. You know what I'm saying? Because spring football has always been a big thing for us. We put up the biggest numbers over the years. People across the country like, dang, y'all had 70,000 at a spring game. You know what I mean? We've taken pride in that. So, I'm sure they'll come up with something to compensate for that. So I'm not tripping, but times are changing, y'all. It's just another thing of times changing. Thanks, Mickey, for the 1999. Thank you for your consistency. Appreciate the love. Thank you so much. But anything you got to say about that, Funky, as we get ready to get out of here?
I was wondering what they can do, like the TV wise. Like, we must have generated a ton of money last year from the spring game, right? Like, because I know we sold some
Big Ten
premium
Network,
tickets, and Big Ten Network filmed it, and I'm sure. I mean, I watched it. I'm sure a lot of other people watched it. So it'll be interesting to see what they do this year. But yes, I've been dealing with a little bit of cough today, so my apology, guys.
You good. I've heard much worse on podcast. Coughing and snotting and all type. You good, bro. But anyway, so yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I'm gonna wait and see, man, because again, regardless, I may take the kids down there once again, man, throw their jerseys on and enjoy Buckeye Nation and take it all in. Hopefully they have some good stuff going on. But yep, spring ball is about to be up like that. I mean, again, long championship run, but now spring is upon us already. Practices are going to be starting in a couple weeks, man. So boom, it's like you're right back at it. But I'm excited, man. We still got a lot of talent. And just to end on the comment about Underwood, let's just let scum be delusional. That's what they do best. Let them think he's going to come in and be freaking Warren Moon, out the gate. And yes, I do think Tavion St. Clair is better. He's the better overall quarterback. He doesn't lack size. His passing ability is better than Underwood, in my opinion. The only thing Underwood has over him is athleticism. He's a little more nimble of a runner and a little faster. But Tavion St. Clair is not a statue. He's the complete future NFL quarterback, in my opinion. So I would not trade Tavion St. Clair for Underwood, flat out. I don't care. I love St. Clair. I think he is the future. I think he's the next really, really just NFL first-round pick guy. So
if any Ohio State fan truly thinks they'd rather Bryce Underwood over Tavion St. Clair, then I have to recheck their brains. Bryce Underwood took $13.5 million or whatever, $12.5 million to go to his team that was an hour away. Tavion St. Clair literally was no BS, no nothing. I mean, he's a Buckeye till he dies. So if you're a Buckeye fan who would replace him with a little brat up north who needs his $10.5 million to go to his hometown team that he crapped on he crapped on Michigan for his whole entire high school career until he got offered $12.5 million. And all of a sudden you could start being, I could do a lot. I mean, dang, you could make me do a lot of stuff for $12.5 million, man. I would wear a Michigan jersey and cheer for them for at least a game, and
then burn it.
Yeah, then burn it after. So but purely off that, I think they're both great players, and I think they'll both have successful careers, at least in the NFL. But I would never trade Tavion St. Clair if I'm at Ohio State for Bryce Underwood, and that not even a debate. I mean, 100 out of 100 times. Even if I think Underwood might be the slightly better prospect, which I'm not going to speak on that because I think they both have some red flags that are similar, their competition. That's what I mean. They both have not the best competition. So, and I think they're both great from what I've seen, and clearly they're both ranked really highly. So I guess we'll just kind of have to see. But that's my 2 cents on that. Man, I just had a train of thought that I just lost, but oh well.
That's cool. I mean, we up against it, man. I mean, if it comes back to you, maybe you can tweet it out, or something like that, or post it. But last thing I'll say, y'all talking about who he gonna throw it to at Michigan. After you get off this video, go to YouTube and type in the Water Boy, Michigan Towel Boy. Okay, Michigan Towel Boy, the Water Boy, and see who catches the pass. That's who they're going to be throwing it to. It's hilarious. All right, y'all. We're going to go ahead and close out. Kirk and Nevada is coming up next. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. We will see y'all next Sunday. Peace.
Peace.